After 22 incredible NFL seasons, Tom Brady is officially walking away from football. Brady, who's widely regarded as the GOAT, the greatest player of all time, is finishing his career with 7 Super Bowl wins, the most of any player in history, and more than any single NFL franchise has won. After days of speculation on his retirement, he posted on Instagram Tuesday saying, quote, "I have always believed the sport of football is an all-in proposition. If 100% competitive commitment isn't there, you won't succeed. And success is what I love so much about our game." He went on to say, "This is difficult for me to write, but here it goes. I am not going to make that competitive commitment anymore. I have loved my NFL career, and now it is time to focus my time and energy on other things that require my attention." For more on this, I want to bring in CBS Sports NFL staff writer Tyler Sullivan. Tyler, I have been having so many conversations with my family, with my friends. We've been texting back and forth. He's quitting. He's not quitting. Maybe. Okay, first of all, as somebody who's covered Brady for so many years, what was your initial reaction and why now?
Well, I think the initial reaction is still shock. I mean, yes, there was the reports over the weekend that will he, won't he? It looks like he's going to. But there's still a level of shock, which is kind of surprising when we're talking about a 44-year-old. But we are talking about a guy in Tom Brady who has infamously said he wants to play until he's 45, even flirted around playing until 50 years old. And, of course, nobody believed him. But ultimately, we've seen him over the course of his career continue to defy those odds. And so when you see somebody playing at the pinnacle of his career that's so late in his career, I mean, this is a guy who is probably going to finish second in the MVP conversations. It is surprising to see him walk away at such a high level. But I think that that's what it is. I think that Brady sees the landscape of, I am at the end of my career. I've had a wonderful 22 years. I'm 44 years old. I'm healthy. I'm still at the top of my game. This is a good opportunity for me to walk away.
Yeah, you don't want to see him kind of, you don't want to see the signs of aging reflected out on the field. Now, Brady spent the first 20 years of his career with the Patriots, of course, with the New England Patriots, who drafted him in the 6th round with a 199th pick in the year 2000, which sounds like, the year 2000, I was in high school. Were you even, I don't even want to ask how old were you in the year 2000. How do you describe his time with the Patriots and then his eventual move to the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I'll give you a quick story. When they won the Super Bowl in 2001, my mom pulled me out of school in 3rd grade to go see that championship parade. So he's been in the league for a long time. I mean, when I've gone from seeing him in grade school to now covering the NFL full time and being there for his last game with the New England Patriots and last game earlier this year when he faced them as a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's truly been a marathon of a career for Tom Brady. And for the New England Patriots side of it, just an unbelievably prolific career that we've seen. Again, it's not something that we will probably see in the NFL for quite some time, if ever. I mean, for a player and a coach in Bill Belichick and Tom Brady to have that level of success for 2 straight decades is just absolutely unparalleled. I mean, we're talking about somebody who is going to be in the same conversation as Babe Ruth, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, and we got to see that career unfold in front of our eyes live and in person, which is something that's just absolutely remarkable. And then from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers side of it, it is the exclamation point. I mean, you just said it. You don't want to see those legendary players kind of fade out and not play particularly well at the tail end of their career. Tom Brady did the opposite. I mean, he left a place in Foxborough that he knew unbelievably well. He was extremely comfortable. He was winning championships and ultimately decided to get away from that spot and go to Tampa Bay and immediately win a Super Bowl in his first year. And then this year, lead the league in passing yards and lead the league in passing touchdowns. That's unheard of for somebody to end their career on an exclamation point, as we often see them kind of end in a whimper.
Well, I mean, the house him and Giselle are building in Miami sure is an exclamation point. Hopefully they'll get to enjoy it. Now, Brady is a Patriots legend, but he did not mention a word about New England. That surprised me personally. Bill Belichick Robert Kraft or any of his former teammates when he made this announcement. However, a New England Patriots owner, Robert Kraft, published a statement saying, quote, "As a fan of football, it was a privilege to watch. As a fan of the Patriots, or as a Patriots fan, it was a dream come true." Tyler, what do you make of Brady keeping his former franchise where he spent so many years, that gave him so many wins, and his colleagues or teammates out of this announcement?
Yeah, it was certainly surprising. And it should be noted that Tom Brady did react to Kraft's statement to say, thank you and enjoyed my time with the Patriots. But ultimately, extremely surprising that in that lengthy goodbye, farewell statement that he's announcing his retirement, not one mention of the New England Patriots, the Krafts, or Bill Belichick. And that's certainly noteworthy. A lot of people have pointed to, well, a couple of years ago when he decided that he was going to leave the New England Patriots, he came out with a very similar statement that spoke glowingly of his time in Foxborough, spoke highly of the Krafts and Bill Belichick, and maybe that's what served his ending with the New England Patriots, and this is kind of a different thing. I would still argue that you could probably still throw the Patriots a bone and the New England fans a bone and say, listen, it was a great time, and I enjoyed my time there. And it could be something to the effect of, listen, it was a icy end between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. That much is very much documented. So could that be part of it? Certainly. I mean, you can't obviously rule that out. But ultimately, maybe he did have that bookend a couple of years ago when he said goodbye to the Patriots before signing with the Buccaneers.
That was that goodbye. And very quickly, before I let you go, commentator, coach, what do you think is next?
I think right now is going to be family man, Tom Brady, the dad. I think that is the number one thing that he's focused on. He's talked about this a couple of times when asked about retirement, that he wants to be more involved with his family. That's kind of the leading kind of decision-making process here as why he's deciding to retire. So I think that's probably going to be part of it. But ultimately, he's Tom Brady. He already has a number of different ventures outside of football, whether it's the TB12 health and wellness brand. He's got a clothing brand. He's getting into the NFT space. And that's just what he has right now. I'm sure that plenty of doors will open for Tom Brady once he is now in a regular citizen. He's the average Joe like us now. So I think he's going to have plenty of opportunities coming his way.
Doubtful. Maybe he'll go wild and even eat some sugar. Tyler Sullivan, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.